Hello everyone and welcome back to English Pod. My name is Marco.
And my name is Catherine, and today we have a cold lesson.
That's right. It's the winter season, and of course it gets cold in a lot of different places around the world, and so we're going to talk about heating.
Okay, this is very important, but before we do get started, we have a very important word to preview in vocabulary preview.
Vocabulary preview.
All right, so we're going to preview the word freezing.
It is freezing today, by the way, so this is very appropriate. Freezing means very, very, very cold.
Okay, it is freezing. Okay, so it's very cold. It's freezing today.
It's so cold, in fact, you can't have water outside because the water will become ice.
It will freeze. Okay, great word. So let's listen to our dialogue for the very first time.
It's freezing in here. Can I turn up the heat?
Don't touch that thermostat. You don't pay the bills around here.
Dad, are you serious? What's the point of having central heating if we can't use it? Look, I can see my breath.
Put on a sweater. I'm not going to let you run up my heating bill just because it's a bit chilly.
Dad, I'm going to catch a cold.
When I was your age, my parents didn't have central heating like you do. We had a furnace in the center of the living room and that was it. We used it to cook, heat the house, and even dry our clothes. We never caught a cold. You should be grateful.
All right, we're back, and this is actually what a lot of dads are like, I think, around the world.
Yep, my dad definitely liked to keep the heat low in
Really?
our house. Yeah.
All right, so we'll talk about that a little bit later, but let's take a look at some 4 words on language takeaway today.
Language takeaway.
Well, this first word is important for anyone who has a home with heating. It's called a thermostat.
All right, a thermostat. What is a thermostat?
A thermostat is a dial or a
device.
A device on the wall that tells you how hot or how cold the house is. It's like a thermometer for your house.
Okay, so you can move the thermostat, the temperature, to make the house warmer or colder, right?
Right, so if it says it's 20 degrees and I think that's too cold, I can turn the thermostat up to 23 degrees.
All right. And, very much related to a thermostat and what this device does is our next word, central heating.
Right, so if you have central heating, you have a thermostat. That's the way to control the heat. And central heating means that you have one heater for the whole house. And so the air comes into all the different rooms. So not many places in China have this, but for example, in the United States and Canada, it is very common.
Okay, so your house or your apartment building will have central heating, and then you can control how cold or warm the house is with thermostats.
Exactly.
Very good. And well, our next word is related to temperature, and it's chilly.
Chilly. Okay, so there's a big difference between chilly and freezing. Freezing means very, very, very cold. Chilly means a little cold.
Right. So it's a little cold. It's a bit chilly.
Right, so it's a bit chilly today. I'm going to wear a hat. Okay, if it's freezing, I'm going to wear a hat and mittens
And
and a
coat.
scarf and coat and boots.
All right. So if it's a bit chilly, it's not very cold. And well, moving on, the dad mentioned about him having a furnace when he
Right.
was young.
That's right. The dad had a furnace in his house, and the furnace is a way to heat your house. It's like a stove.
So yeah, just consider it like a big oven, right? Maybe you've seen it in the old movies where you would have to throw firewood into the furnace to make it heat up the house.
Exactly. And so this is very common in older homes and not very common in apartments.
Right. And well, that's all the words we have for language takeaway today. Why don't we listen to this chilly dialogue again?
It's freezing in here. Can I turn up the heat?
Don't touch that thermostat. You don't pay the bills around here.
Dad, are you serious? What's the point of having central heating if we can't use it? Look, I can see my breath.
Put on a sweater. I'm not going to let you run up my heating bill just because it's a bit chilly.
Dad, I'm going to catch a cold.
When I was your age, my parents didn't have central heating like you do. We had a furnace in the center of the living room, and that was it. We used it to cook, heat the house, and even dry our clothes. We never caught a cold. You should be grateful.
All right, we're back. So now we have prepared for you 3 key phrases on Fluency Builder.
Fluency Builder.
Okay, so this first phrase is related to thermostat, okay? So thermostat, like we said, is like a thermometer, but we can control the temperature. So if we want to make the temperature hotter, we turn up the thermostat.
Okay, so this is a phrasal verb, to turn up the heat.
You could say this about heat. You could say this about noise, too. Can you turn up the radio?
Turn up the volume. Mm-hmm. So it's to increase.
To increase, to make bigger or warmer or louder.
All right, and if we wanted to decrease the temperature in the thermostat, you would say
turn down.
Turn down the heat.
Exactly. So it's too hot in here. Can you please turn down the heat?
All right, very good. And our next phrase is, the dad was talking about the bills and how expensive it is to use the thermostat. And he said, I'm not going to let you run up my heating bill.
Okay, so a bill is like, something that you pay. It's money. And so in this case, I don't want you to run up the bill. That means to increase the amount of money I have to spend.
Mm-hmm. So maybe if you leave your television on all night, you're running up your electricity bill.
Exactly. Or if you talk on the phone 10 hours a day, you run up the phone bill and your mother kills you.
Right. All right. And the daughter was complaining about her catching a cold, to catch a cold.
All right. So remember this. A cold is when you have maybe a runny nose and a cough and a sore throat. It usually happens when the weather changes, but we don't get a cold. You catch a cold.
Okay.
And remember, like in baseball, you throw and catch. It's something that's fast.
All right. So you catch a cold. What about the flu? Do you get the flu or catch the flu?
So you can't catch a flu, but you can catch a cold. Just remember this phrase, to catch a cold. I caught the cold. Mm-hmm. No, to catch a cold, or I caught a cold. It's almost like if I have it, I could throw it to you, Marco. Achoo! And you catch it.
Right, because it's in the air, the virus.
Yeah, it passes very quickly.
All right, very good. So an interesting dialogue. Let's listen to it one last time.
It's freezing in here. Can I turn up the heat?
Don't touch that thermostat. You don't pay the bills around here.
Dad, are you serious? What's the point of having central heating if we can't use it? Look, I can see my breath.
Put on a sweater. I'm not going to let you run up my heating bill just because it's a bit chilly.
Dad, I'm going to catch a cold.
When I was your age, my parents didn't have central heating like you do. We had a furnace in the center of the living room, and that was it. We used it to cook, heat the house, and even dry our clothes. We never caught a cold. You should be grateful.
All right, we're back, and you mentioned about thermostat and your dad actually controlling the heating at home. Was this the case like this in this scenario?
It was sometimes would have to wear more clothes because we didn't want to run up the bill. But we had a special situation in my house because I'm from Chicago and it's very cold in the winters in Chicago, but we had a fireplace. Okay, so even if it was very cold, we always had firewood and we could put on the fire in the fireplace to keep warm. So everyone would stay in the living room and read and listen to music and just, relax.
Now, I heard that because, when you're burning wood, it causes some pollution. In some cities, it's banned, right, to actually turn on to have a fireplace.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But in Chicago, you can still do it.
Absolutely. And in most of the states, you can. Although a lot of people in new houses, they don't have real fireplaces. They have electric fireplaces. And so you can use a light switch to turn on your fire. It's not a real fire. It's just a glowing
fancy
light. Yeah.
All right. Well, very good. This is an interesting lesson, especially because the winter season is coming up and, everyone is cold. So we hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, any doubts, you can come to our website, englishpod.com.
We hope to see you there. Happy studies and stay warm.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
Acquire bills or debts. Run up. Increase the intensity of a device. Churn up. Very cold. Chilly. Become infected with a cold. Catch a cold. Thankful. Grateful.
Let's try that faster.
Acquire bills or debts. Run up. Increase the intensity of a device. Churn up. Thankful. Grateful. Become infected with a cold. Catch a cold. Very cold. Chilly.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Run up. He ran up a very expensive tab at the local bar. Run up. The new heating system they installed ran up their electric bill. Run up. They were running up huge bills with his new spending habits. Churn up. Honey, could you please turn up the heat? It's freezing in here. Churn up. I need to churn up the heat or I'll freeze. Churn up. I wish I could turn up the heat, but I don't have any control in this hotel room. Chilly. It's starting to get a little chilly in here. Chilly. He said that it was so chilly that he had to put 2 sweaters on. Chilly. It is very chilly in this room. Catch a cold. You will catch a cold if you don't put a sweater on. Catch a cold. My friend Amy caught the flu and had to stay home for a week. Catch a cold. He caught a cold last week, and now we all have it too. Grateful. I am so grateful that the police came just in time. Grateful. He was so grateful that he could finally see his daughter again. Grateful. She was very grateful to have such wonderful friends.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another lesson at English Pod. My name is Marco.
And my name is Catherine. And in the spirit of Halloween, we have a Halloween lesson for you.
Happy Halloween. It's Halloween.
It's Halloween. And this is an elementary level lesson. So we're talking about some basic but important things today.
Exactly. So we're not going to preview anything because the dialogue is pretty simple. So why don't we listen to it for the first time, and we'll be right back.
Trick or treat.
Tom, aren't you a little too old to be trick-or-treating?
What are you talking about? Where's your Halloween spirit? Didn't you ever dress up in a costume and go around the neighborhood trick-or-treating with your friends?
Of course I did, but when I was 10, trick-or-treating is for kids. Plus, I'm sure people think you're a kidnapper or something, running around with kids at night.
Whatever. I'm going next door. I heard Mrs. Robinson is giving out big bags of M&Ms.
All right, we're back. So trick-or-treating.
Ding dong.
Ding dong, trick-or-treat. All right, so we're going to explain what trick-or-treating is just in a little bit. But before we get into it, why don't we take a look at 4 important words in language takeaway.
Language takeaway.
Well, the first one, Marco, is very important because it's the name of this special holiday that isn't celebrated everywhere. It's only celebrated in some places, and Americans, I think, love it above all else.
Right, yeah, Halloween. Now, this actually comes from All Hallows Eve, right?
That's right. So it's the night of the spirits of the dead.
Right, exactly. So the Day of the Dead. And as Catherine mentions, it's celebrated in different ways in different countries, but I think probably the United States is one of the few where people dress up and go trick-or-treating and things
That's
like
right.
this.
And
right.
Halloween is the last day of October, so October 31st. And it's a really fun holiday where mostly children dress up in costumes and they ask for candy.
All right, so to dress up means to get in a costume?
Right. Well, you could say dress up to mean a couple of different things, but in this case, you dress up in a costume. So that means you change your clothes so that you're wearing a costume, which is maybe a witch's costume or a vampire or something scary.
So you would say he dressed up as a vampire.
He dressed up as a vampire, or they got dressed up for the wedding.
Okay, very good. So dress up. And then we have the word kidnapper.
So the friend is afraid that his friend will look like a kidnapper if he
Right.
goes out trick-or-treating with the kids.
Right.
And so a kidnapper comes from the word to take or to grab. So kid grabber. And that means that you're going to take children from the streets and steal them.
Right. But you can kidnap an adult, right? So it's not only for kids.
That's right. It's for any kind of person who you take without them wanting you to. So against their will.
Okay, kidnapper. And finally, we have M&Ms. What are M&Ms? Not the singer,
M&Ms?
right?
No, M&M is spelled differently, the singer. This is a delicious chocolate treat. It's a candy, and it comes in big brown bags. And if you want them with peanuts, they come in a yellow bag. And
You
it's,
know your M&Ms.
Oh, man, I could tell you all the colors. But M&Ms are really delicious, and it's actually a brand, M&Ms.
It's a brand. Right, so many people probably know it, but just in case, they're called M&Ms. Very good candy. All right, so these words were relatively easy and simple, so why don't we listen to our dialogue again? Let's slow it down just a little bit, and we'll be right back to take a look at Fluency Builder.
Fluency Builder.
All right, we're back. So on Fluency Builder, we promised that we were going to look at this word trick-or-treating, so let's look at it now. Trick-or-treat, it's a verb, right? To trick-or-treat.
To trick or treat, and it comes from the words that we say when we're children to the person whose door we knock on. So, for example,
Okay.
I say,
And then I open the door.
trick or treat.
Okay, so what are you supposed to do in this when somebody says trick-or-treat?
Well, I'm a child. I'm holding my bag, and you're supposed to say Happy Halloween and give me some candy.
Okay.
All right. So trick or treat means you could either trick someone. You could play a trick on them, like scare them or put some toilet paper on their house, or you can give them a treat. or accept a treat. And so the idea is if you don't give me a treat, I will do something bad to you.
I see. But this doesn't really happen, right? Like when
really.
kids go to people's houses, they say trick or treat and then they get candy automatically.
Almost automatically, yeah. Sometimes people avoid the holiday and they close their doors and lock them and they don't answer the door.
Yeah.
And that's when someone maybe throws an egg at the house or does
puts
something
toilet
mean.
paper on their tree.
Yeah. So trick or treat is what we say, but it's also something we can do. So we can go trick or treating.
Go trick or treating. Right. Okay. Very good. Trick or treat. And now we have another phrase here that's a little bit complicated. But when the friend answered the door, he said, "Aren't you a little too old to be trick-or-treating?"
All right, I like this phrase because it's sarcastic. The person is not asking a real question. He's saying, listen, you are too old to be trick-or-treating. And so in this case, aren't you is a way to introduce something that we know is true, that we think is true. It's kind of rude and sarcastic.
So if I say, "Aren't you supposed to be at work?"
Oh.
Right?
Shoot.
So it's in that form. You're not really asking a question. You're more demanding an explanation.
Right. It's a suggestion. It's like, you're probably supposed to be at work right now.
Right.
So Marco, aren't you supposed to be at school right now?
So do we always, but we always use it in that sense, right? Aren't you? And then...
Yeah, aren't you? Aren't you a little old for that kind of an outfit?
All right. So aren't you? All right, very good. So those are the two phrases for Fluency Builder today. Let's listen quickly to our dialogue one more time, and we'll be right back.
Trick or treat.
Tom, aren't you a little too old to be trick-or-treating?
What are you talking about? Where's your Halloween spirit? Didn't you ever dress up in a costume and go around the neighborhood trick-or-treating with your friends?
Of course I did, but when I was 10, trick-or-treating is for kids. Plus, I'm sure people think you're a kidnapper or something, running around with kids at night.
Whatever. I'm going next door. I heard Mrs. Robinson is giving out big bags of M&Ms.
All right, so Marco, have you ever trick-or-treated?
I did. I used to go trick-or-treating when I was little, and it was actually really fun.
We used to have competitions about who had the most candy.
I've heard about this.
Right, because you don't necessarily bring a bag, you bring a pillowcase.
Right.
And you fill your pillowcase with candy.
Now, the interesting thing is that sometimes you wouldn't necessarily only get candy from people.
Right, sometimes you got weird things like pennies or toothbrushes or apples.
Yeah, so you would go to someone's house and they would give you an apple. You'd be like, okay.
But there was always an old lady who lived near, she lived in the neighborhood, and every neighborhood had one, you know? All my friends had a lady they would go to, and she gave the full-size candy bars.
Wow.
Right? Because normally stores sell small candy bars for the Halloween holiday because they're smaller, they're cheaper, it's easier to give them to many people. But there's always one person who has the big full-size candy bars, and everyone goes to her.
Right, exactly. And actually, it's amazing how Halloween is such an important event in the States because everyone dresses up, everyone puts out decorations or pumpkins outside of their homes. They have pumpkin carving contests, which are really cool, how they carve out pumpkins.
They make faces in the pumpkins, and then we can put a candle inside to light it up. It's really fun.
So that's called a jack-o'-lantern, right?
That's right.
Why is it called a jack-o'-lantern? Do you know?
I have no idea.
It's
Maybe
weird.
it's like a person, looks like a person's face.
Maybe a jack.
Because a lantern is a light, you know,
Right.
it's like a light with a candle in it, so.
Yeah. It's actually it's a very fun holiday. It's really interesting, and it's kind of strange when people really oppose it because they say that it's it has to do with the devil, or it's a pagan ritual and things like this. But it's just good fun.
It's fun. It's silly. Everyone likes to dress up in a costume.
What was the weirdest costume that you've dressed up as an adult or a child? Because I know you've dressed up as an adult as well.
I dress up every year. I was Pippi Longstockings last year. Well, as a child one year, I dressed up as an injured soldier because, my dad was in the military, so we always had fatigues around the house. And so I used his fatigues and I, put blood on my face and I had crutches, and people thought that I really had a broken leg.
Wow.
So they used to give me double. They gave me that year. They gave me double the candy because they thought, oh, here's a poor girl in crutches.
And trick-or-treating.
And my costume was an injured soldier, so they just didn't understand it. It was really funny.
Nice. Well, we want to hear about you guys if you go trick-or-treating or if you dress up for Halloween. I know that many places around the world have parties or festivities for Halloween and people dress up. So come to our website, englishpod.com. We'll see you guys there, and we'll see you guys next time.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
Be not. Be not. A children's Halloween practice of asking for treats. Trick or treat. Attire in clothes suited to a particular role. Dress up. To seize and detain or carry away by unlawful force. Kidnapper. To go all over the place, to move quickly from one place to another. Run around.
Let's try that faster.
A children's Halloween practice of asking for treats. Trick or treat. Attire in clothes suited to a particular role. Dress up. Be not. Be not. To seize and detain or carry away by unlawful force. Kidnapper. To go all over the place, to move quickly from one place to another. Run around.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Trick or treat. It is common for young kids to go trick-or-treating on Halloween. Trick or treat. Last year when I went trick-or-treating, I got enough candy to last for a whole year. Trick or treat. Many parents don't allow their children to go trick-or-treating because they think it's dangerous. Dress up. When I was 8 years old, I dressed up as Superman for Halloween. Dress up. Many people don't like to dress up on Halloween. Dress up. It's cute to see all the children dressed up in their costumes. Be not. The teacher gave out the exams. Be not. Our company gave out Christmas bonuses this year. Be not. I hate Halloween. Why do I have to give out candies for free? Run around. There are so many kids running around that they are driving me crazy. Run around. I saw your dog running around the front lawn this morning. Run around. Pete's cat is running around here somewhere, so make sure to close the door. Be not. Aren't you a little too big to be playing with those kids? Be not. Aren't those pants a little too small for you? Be not. Isn't that shirt a little too old to be wearing it to a dinner party?
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to English Pod. My name is Marco.
And my name is Catherine, and today we are talking about an important holiday the world over.
It's very important all over the world, especially in the United States. So let's take a look at this holiday in Vocabulary Preview.
Vocabulary Preview.
So the name of the holiday is Veterans Day. So
Okay.
veteran.
So what's a veteran?
A veteran is a person who has participated in a war or in some kind of military situation.
Okay. So Veterans Day is a day where you commemorate all the people that fought in the different wars.
Exactly. A veteran doesn't have to be a World War II veteran. They could be a Civil War veteran or a Vietnam War veteran. It's just a general
Or a Gulf
term.
War.
Exactly.
All right. So that's the day in the United States where everyone honors all the soldiers that participated in different wars and they fought for their country. Mm-hmm. All right. So why don't we take a look at our dialogue for the first time, and we'll be back.
Do you have any plans for Veterans Day?
You mean Armistice Day?
What are you talking about? November 11th is Veterans Day. What planet are you from?
Well, as you know, on November 11th, the Allies signed a peace treaty with the Germans, also known as the Armistice Treaty. This marked the end of World War I, and many countries around the world commemorated this date under names such as Remembrance Day. In Poland, it's their Independence Day. There's a lot going on around the world on this day.
Wow, I didn't know. Probably because I flunked history in school.
All right, so there's a lot of really great vocabulary in this elementary lesson. So let's take a look at some of these words and phrases in Language Takeaway.
Language Takeaway.
All right. So the first word that came up after the guy mentioned Veterans Day, the girl mentioned Armistice Day.
Armistice.
Okay. So what is this Armistice Day?
Armistice means to stop fighting, right? So it's a time in which people lay down their arms, we say. And it's one that's celebrated in Commonwealth countries like England or Canada and in parts of Europe.
Okay, very good. So Armistice Day, kind of like the equivalent for Commonwealth countries to Veterans Day. Mm-hmm. All right. And, well, the girl gave him a bit of a history lesson and mentioned that on November 11th, the Allies signed a peace treaty. So we have two great words here, allies.
So allies is a word that we use in English to indicate people who fought against the Germans, Italians, and Japanese in World War II. So allies include Great Britain, America, France for some time. So these are countries and Russia, they were fighting against the Germans.
Right. So, and in general terms, an ally is a friend, right?
Exactly. So
The opposite
Marco and
of-
I are allies. If there's a fight, I'm on his side.
The opposite of enemies.
Exactly.
Very good. And, well, the Allies signed a peace treaty. So what is a peace treaty?
A treaty is a document that outlines new rules for a situation. And a peace treaty is a document that calls for peace. It says, we will not fight anymore. We will have peace. And this is what this means. So we have new rules.
So it's an agreement. It's like a contract. Basically.
Exactly. It's a contract between nations.
Okay, very good. All right. And as we mentioned, Veterans Day or Armistice Day, we commemorate these events that happened in the past. So to commemorate something.
Right. So in this sense, we are honoring it. So to commemorate is to remember, to honor, to
remember with respect.
to remember with respect. Exactly. There's a positive, respectful tone here. It's remembering for a good reason.
Okay, very good. So we've taken a look at these 4 words. Why don't we listen to our dialogue again? And we'll be back in a bit to look at Fluency Builder.
Do you have any plans for Veterans Day?
You mean Armistice Day?
What are you talking about? November 11th is Veterans Day. What planet are you from?
Well, as you know, on November 11th, the Allies signed a peace treaty with the Germans, also known as the Armistice Treaty. This marked the end of World War I, and many countries around the world commemorated this date under names such as Remembrance Day. In Poland, it's their Independence Day. There's a lot going on around the world on this day.
Wow, I didn't know. Probably because I flunked history in school.
Today's Fluency Builder includes a couple of really interesting phrases that are kind of longer. So let's take a look at the first one, which is very, very common in English.
All right, so this first sentence was kind of using a sarcastic tone because he said, what are you talking about?
Right, so this guy says, Veterans Day? Oh, you mean Armistice Day? He says, what are you talking about? That means, no, I mean Veterans Day.
Right, so he wasn't really asking, like, what are you talking about? He was literally saying, with this sentence, are you crazy? Or like,
You're wrong.
You're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So what are you talking about is a way, very sarcastic way to say, listen, I think you're wrong, or you must be a little bit crazy here.
Right. What are you talking about? All right. And then to end the whole sarcastic sentence there, he said, what planet are you from?
So obviously this is Veterans Day. What planet are you from? So you're so wrong. How do you not understand what this is?
How do you not know this?
Right. And so, for example, I could say, maybe I'll ask you, Marco, who's the president of the United States?
All right. I can say, well, what planet are you from? It's obviously President Obama.
Oh, duh. So it's like, obviously everybody knows this. And so
Right.
you're saying, how do you not how do you not know this already?
So it's very sarcastic. What planet are you from?
And finally, the guy is talking about how he doesn't understand what the meaning of Veterans Day is. And after this long explanation, he says, well, I didn't know. Probably because I flunked history in
Right.
school.
So if you flunked history or you flunked any subject in school, it means you didn't pass.
Exactly. So to flunk is a verb in English, and it means to fail a subject. That means maybe in 100% is perfect, you got 50% or
Right.
40%, and you have to take the course again.
Okay. Did you ever flunk an exam in school?
No.
No, really? You didn't? Never?
No.
Wow. Such a good student.
Did you?
Maybe I did maybe once or twice.
I was much too self-critical.
All right, let's listen to this dialogue again, and we'll be back in a bit.
Do you have any plans for Veterans Day?
You mean Armistice Day?
What are you talking about? November 11th is Veterans Day. What planet are you from?
Well, as you know, on November 11th, the Allies signed a peace treaty with the Germans, also known as the Armistice Treaty. This marked the end of World War I, and many countries around the world commemorated this date under names such as Remembrance Day. In Poland, it's their Independence Day. There's a lot going on around the world on this day.
Wow, I didn't know. Probably because I flunked history in school.
All right, so Veterans Day, it's a big deal in the United States, right?
It's a very big deal.
There's a parade.
Yeah, in most cities in the country, there are parades. And when I was in school, we had to play music because I was in band. We used to play music for the veterans, and we would go to the cemetery and play taps. Da 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 da. Oh no, we wouldn't play taps. It was. Da, na, na, da, na, na.
That's like the funeral song? I don't know.
Yeah,
what
we
that's
would
called.
play funeral songs and taps for the local veterans who would be respecting and commemorating fallen soldiers.
Wow, and the president talks as well, like on national TV.
That's
and
right.
Stuff.
That's right.
All right. So it's very interesting, especially the history lesson. The fact that on November, I think it's called 11/11/11, right? November 11th at 11 o'clock, they signed this armistice treaty.
And that was in 1918. So this is World War I. We're talking about when the world had never really seen fighting like this before.
Right.
And so everyone was just relieved when what they called the Great War was finally over.
It's a very interesting history lesson. So I'm sure many people have some opinions on this, so we would be glad to hear it from you on our website at englishpod.com. You can also leave questions or comments, and we'll see you guys there.
And let us know, do you celebrate this holiday in your country?
Yep. All right.
Until next time, bye. Everyone.
The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
An agreement to stop a war. Armistice. Agreement. Treaty. Memorize. Commemorate. Fail in exams. Flunk.
Let's try that faster.
Memorize. Commemorate. An agreement to stop a war. Armistice. Agreement. Treaty. Fail in exams. Flunk.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Armistice. The two nations signed an armistice. Armistice. The key aspect in an armistice is the fact that all fighting ends with no one surrendering. Armistice. The Korean War armistice was a major example of an armistice which was not followed by a peace treaty. Armistice. Pain is remembrance. You cannot forget pain. Armistice. Nothing is more fatal to happiness than the remembrance of happiness. Armistice. If it seems a childish thing to do it in remembrance that you are a child. Treaty. This commerce treaty will bring prosperity between our great nations. Treaty. We shall sign a peace treaty with the invaders. Treaty. This treaty is not valid until I sign it. Commemorate. We are gathered here today to commemorate the lives sacrificed in an act of heroism. Commemorate. On November 11th, we commemorate the fallen with a march. Commemorate. The cenotaph commemorates the fallen. Flunk. I just found out that I flunked in math. Flunk. If you flunk any school subject, you will be screwed. Flunk. I really hope the teacher doesn't flunk me.